Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Wheelman81 here, and this is our next automotive adventure at Eddieville. This is the second round of the NMA Hare Scramble series, and just gonna come right out of the gate and say this was not my best performance. The conditions were pretty chilly. It was almost freezing at the time of the start of the race, I think. Maybe as high as like 38 or something. A freak snowstorm kind of snuck its way in. I thought it was going to be an absolutely wild race. It was a crazy start. There was precipitation during the first lap here. You'll be able to see it in the camera a little bit. But most of all, the track conditions were just absolutely sloppy. Last year, I watched some videos of the 2022 race, and it was sloppier than this. I mean, just an absolute mud fest last year. People were struggling just to get up hills. So it's a little better than last year, but it was still pretty sloppy. I know I said last race that I was new to sand, but here we are again in a similar boat. I haven't ever ridden before in sloppy mud conditions like this. I don't know which is more difficult, the sand or the sloppy mud. It's kind of similar and different. It's similar that traction's reduced, but the sand kind of grabs your tire. The mud you kind of just slide around on. Here come the juniors from the group behind us. They were the last group in the starting line, so there's no one behind them. I don't think there were many people in the juniors, and I don't know if the Q group left with them or not. At the very start of the race, I really wasn't comfortable in these tight turns. I could just see me coming hot into a corner and then laying the bike down on the side, because it just slips out from under you. So I was going pretty slow. Also, for whatever it's worth, I don't think my head was in the right place for this race. I came into the race, well, I wasn't sure I was going to actually go to this race. I kind of thought maybe I'd just skip this one. But I told myself before the season started that my goal was to make it to every single race this season. And so I just kind of sucked it up and went anyway. And then I think because I wasn't mentally prepared for the race weekend, I forgot a lot of stuff when I went camping the night before, because this is, again, like 4.5, 5 hours from my house. So I camped the night before out in the woods. And I forgot my mattress, I forgot my pillow. It was just a frustrating night. There was daylight savings time, so I lost an hour there. I think maybe I got 4 hours of sleep the night before. I don't know. I was pretty tired when I came to the race, and I was kind of just mentally beat before the race started. As I got into the race, and there were riders around me, and I was chasing a few people, and I was getting a little more comfortable on the motorcycle on this terrain. I started to pick up the pace a little bit, but just out of the gate, I wasn't ready to race, unfortunately. Right here is actually the end of the lap, but because of where we started, we had a little extra bonus length. There's a big drop off up here. I think this is the gravel pit they were talking about on this big hill. It was pretty steep. Right here.
Oh, look.
And then right after that, you go into either pit lane on the left or hayfield on the right. I took pit lane because it was going to be easier. They said the distances were probably about the same. We were supposed to be doing 5 miles an hour through here, and the guy at the beginning said they were going to have guys with radar guns in here hiding, and we would get a 5-minute penalty if they caught us doing more than 5 miles an hour. So I was trying to go slow. I don't have a speedometer on my bike though, so it's just kind of like, I hope this is slow enough. I took the hayfield section on the second lap, and I think maybe on the third lap, but riding in the hayfield was pretty difficult all on its own. So I think maybe going through pit lane for me was actually quicker. I don't know what that guy's doing. He's supposed to be doing 5 miles an hour until the gate here, so whatever. You go down this hill into a rut that just got super bad by the end of the race. It was almost deep enough to eat your motorcycle, it felt like. But anywho, we come out here onto this little fast section, and at this point I think my head is like, okay, that's right, we're in a race, let's try to pick up the pace. I probably wasn't going as fast as I could had I been rested and mentally prepared for the race, but I was still pushing a little bit. You can see the rain coming down and the roost, and I think that's mostly from my front tire. So here we go onto the hayfield, and it's like two different terrains. They're a lot alike, but on the track part, the actual motocross track and dirt track, it's compacted. So yeah, it's slippery, but you have a compacted track to ride on. Over here in the hayfield, it's just rutted up and nasty. It's probably not as slippery, but these ruts, you get into the ruts, and if you don't follow them exactly, you fall down, and it's frustrating. I think maybe I liked riding on the track a little better. This hayfield stuff was really frustrating. I think I fell maybe 5 or 6 times during this race, and most of it was in the hayfield stuff. So I got my first pass. I can see several riders in front of me, and I'm starting to get in that headspace finally of, okay, well, let's pass some people. I think the only people I passed were in either the juniors group or the open C group. And that makes me wonder a little bit about if I'm in the right class, because I race in senior C, which is for 40 and up. It's supposed to be 40 and up beginners, but the guys in our group they seem to me like they're really, really good. I've watched some of their videos, and geez, they're fast. Really fast. I think I mentioned last race that the guy who was near the front of senior C was doing like 60 plus miles an hour through the sand. Maybe I just don't understand what a B level or an A level rider is capable of, but geez, that seems really, really fast. It doesn't seem to me like that's beginner C group type riding, but I don't know. So maybe I was kind of thinking maybe I should be racing in open C. For what it's worth, I think maybe since open C has younger riders and senior C only has 40 and up, a lot of guys who've been riding for years who think that they're not good riders are in senior C, and they have way more experience than a brand new rider who might be in open C. So maybe that's why they're so much faster. Another thing it could be is that there weren't a lot of riders at this race. Maybe 75 riders, I think, something like that total. Only 11 in my group. And the people who showed up, I think, were really trying to race hard. They were pushing it. So it just happened to be a really good group of riders in this race, and that's why they were so much faster. The good news is that no one lapped me. We all did 3 laps if my quick glance at the score sheet was right. So that's good news. At least I was somewhat on pace with the group. The guy at the beginning said the race course was 12.3 miles. There's a little extra at the beginning, like I said, before we got to the lap point, but there's a lot of miles on the day. 3 laps. I think I did something like 38 miles or something like that. So going up this hill, I wasn't sure I could actually make the turn, so I just drove straight up the hill to the outside of the turn. That seemed to work. I kind of felt that was a pretty good strategy. Instead of trying to hold the inside rut, I was kind of hitting the rut on the inside at the start of the turn and then driving to the outside of the curve. You'll see me do that a couple of times throughout the race. It seemed to work pretty well. It allowed me to get on throttle a little faster. Not sure that's the best strategy, but it seemed to be working a little bit. And you see how we're just slipping and sliding all over this track. I was kind of running a gear higher, thinking maybe I shouldn't be putting so much torque into the mud, but I don't know. There wasn't seemingly a good way to get traction in this mess. So we got a couple passes now, and I think there's a couple riders up in front of me. You can't really see them, but the camera angle is much nicer now. I mentioned in the last race that I need to move it up, and I did that. So it was mounted on a strap-on camera mount that mounts to your helmet, and I switched that out for a 3M fixed adhesive mount to the mouth guard on the helmet. It seems to give a much better camera angle. See, riding through this hayfield stuff is just like it's just so loose.
It'll be a tiring ass race.
So here the day after, I'm finding that my legs are pretty sore, but that's pretty normal. But also my wrists are really sore, which is a little strange. I think that's because the bike was bouncing a lot. You can see it in the camera. That's just from the rough ground. But fighting the handlebars to keep the bike upright in the slippery mud. So I think it just wore my wrists out. It's such a weird thing to have wrist fatigue, but whatever. My cardio was really good for this race, for whatever that's worth. I didn't get fatigued. I feel like by the end of the race, I could have done another lap if I needed to. And somewhere on lap 2 or so, I think I accepted the fact that I wasn't going to pass anyone from Senior C. So I figured, well, why not use this opportunity to practice some stuff? And I actually went off a jump on purpose. I figured I'd hit one of these whoops a little harder and just see what happens, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it'd
I'm
be.
not touching that front brake today.
So I'm thinking maybe the next race I might be able to actually do these whoops a little better, maybe even get some air, just a tiny bit of air off these big jumps. Who knows? I'm in that rookie gains part of riding where everything's new and exciting to me. So I know a lot of you guys who watch my videos are probably AA super experienced riders and stuff, but I've only been riding for 1 year total. I've never ridden a motorcycle before, and all this is extremely new to me. And being able to hit a jump and actually get the bike in the air, that's pretty cool. Being able to hit these whoops and not just go over a bunch of them like really slow, like crossing railroad tracks or something, that's also pretty cool. So the scenery is great out here. Riding amongst these windmills, it was really cool. Kind of see the snow clouds over in the distance on the right there. It was crazy. We started the day, it was beautiful. It was sunny. It was a gorgeous sunrise, and then we're sitting there waiting for the race to start, and you could just see those clouds creeping over the mountains, and then you could see the mountains in the distance just getting covered in snow, and then the clouds took over the mountains where you couldn't even see the mountains anymore, and eventually it started snowing where we were. But it stopped before the race started, so I guess that's a good thing. This hill right here, this turn, this was the hardest obstacle in the whole race. It's sloped to the outside, so no matter what you do, you're going to end up on the outside of the turn. It was so slippery.
That's a really hard turn back there.
There were a couple of those in this section where it slopes to the outside while you're turning the opposite way, and those were tough. I'm finding that I ride a lot faster when I have a rabbit in front of me, like these riders here. That's definitely something I need to work on. I should be able to maintain race speed on my own, push myself without having someone in front of me. But in the meantime, I definitely notice when there's someone in front of me, that drive to pass someone really kicks in, and I get a lot faster. If there was someone in front of me for the whole race, like maybe in 5 years' time I'm running second place, those will be the fastest laps I ever do. So I tried to pass him on the left here, but I don't think he knows I was there. So I backed off a little bit. I figured, well, I'll pass him in a minute. And then going through this slop, everyone gets sideways and falling down. I get roosted. But I did get past that sea rider, that open seat guy. This mud just sticks to everything.
Trying to get a little air.
So this is a pretty tight section of track. I'm trying to get past these two riders. I'm sure I can do it. I try to sneak by him on the left here, but then I get off the course and hit some bigger rocks and kind of get stuck. On the first lap, without having ever ridden the track before, you don't really know how long you're going to be behind someone or how long this tight section's going to last. So it's tough to say when's a good time to pass. You know, should I just follow this guy? But what if this single track goes on for 4 more miles? I don't know at this point. Nice. Alright, so the orange rider goes over into the grass. I fell here a couple of times. That rut on the right side ended up getting worse and worse throughout the day. And then I figured this is my opportunity to get past him, so I shoot past him. And lucky for me, there's a rider just up ahead, someone to chase and close that gap, push myself a little bit. So I don't know, I think that's maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 riders I've passed at this point. Well, I think almost all of them are from open sea. Good motivation for passing people is not sitting in the roost for half a mile. Now this section up here had some pretty big whoops. On the first lap right here, I hit them pretty rough. But by the second and third lap, when I was getting a little more comfortable in this slop, and I had been practicing the whoops, I got pretty quick through here. I was surprised at how much I progressed just in this race. Now you can split here, left or right. I went left because I was just following the orange rider. The right way is the quicker way. I think I took the right way the last 2 laps.
Oh, yeah. Get some.
I was right in the firing line on that one. So I mentioned in the last video that when I had fallen, my hand grips, which are the closed-in hand grips, pushed into the throttle and pinned the throttle open, and I didn't like that. So this race, I replaced those with the open-in hand grips, not hand grips, hand guards. And I think that was a mistake, but they broke off during the race. They have no strength in them because they just kind of stick out there. Maybe it's the ones I ordered. They were like a hard molded plastic, and both of them broke off during the race.
I don't know what line is over here.
So one of the riders at this race told me that
right here.
instead of getting the kind that use a wedge anchor, they actually make a die and tap for the inside of the handlebar that causes the closed-in handguard to actually screw into the handlebar. And I'm going to get those. I've already ordered them. I didn't have any problem with the closed-in handguards except for them pushing into the throttle. I thought they were a good design. You can see the ruts in these puddles. Ugh. You get in the ruts and I don't know, I fell down a lot because of the ruts, and I didn't want to fall down in one of those puddles. I could hear someone's motorcycle behind me, so I was taking a look at who was back there. At the same time, I was trying to catch this rider in front of me. I didn't fall this lap. I didn't start falling until the second and third laps. I probably laid it down 5 or 6 times. I think it was mostly because I was getting tired, or I was getting comfortable on the bike and I was pushing myself a little harder than I should, but probably a combination of the two. I thought those slips without falling would come through better on camera, but it seems like they don't. There's a couple times, the back end just gets super squirrely, you're hanging on for life, and then you make a cool recovery, but I guess the head stays pretty straight, so the camera doesn't move that much. Just a bog fest. You can see I'm trying to stay out of that rut on the inside. I think coming outside was definitely a better strategy. I don't have to go all the way to the outside of the curve, but just don't get my tires in that front rut. Thinking back, I think I fell a lot of times because I was in that rut. I think the situation is that I'm not going fast enough for the rut, and the rut is kind of cut in at an angle. So when my bike is standing up, my front tire is clawing on the edge of the rut, and it pulls me to the outside of the curve. So I end up tripping over the rut and falling down. And I think that's probably why riding in this hayfield stuff was so difficult, because you're almost always in a rut.
This way. Like the big ruts on the inside yet. This one though, I guess. They always end up coming out. I think I'm not leaning as hard.
Yeah, front tire definitely ate into that rut and twisted. But I saved it. I'm getting a little better at that. It's also probably a little easier to recover when the sand doesn't actually just gobble up the front tire and it digs in. So overall, I'm not sure exactly which I would say is harder, this one or the sand race. They're both challenging their own ways. They're similar but also different. It's just a traction issue and bike balance issue on both of them, but the sand gobbles up your front tire and the mud is super slick. I think just watching the videos back, I'd probably go with the sand race being slightly easier because I was making better time there. But I came away from the mud race more tired because I was fighting the bike so much. I don't
I see a
know.
lot of people standing, but it seems like you would want to put weight on the back tire. Or sit down.
So what I was saying there is, like, it seems like you'd increase traction by putting weight over the rear tire, and that seems like what you'd want to do. I don't know. This stuff is super slick, so you'd think you'd want the rear tire digging into the mud to get to something good for traction, but I'm not sure. Just a random bike laying on the side. I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully the rider's okay. He's just taking a nap over there or something. I don't know. I didn't see a rider anywhere, but I guess he just abandoned the bike.
Whoa! That was badass.
That was a crazy recovery in person. That I may have been completely sprawled out to save that one. So I was a little confused at this point. I knew we were back at the start line somewhere. I hadn't done a lap yet, so I didn't know what all this was about. And I'm actually on track that I had done before. I was recognizing this stuff. So I was thinking, man, did I miss the lap point? I'm not sure. So I thought maybe I missed the lap, guys, but it turns out it was that extra bit of track at the beginning. I've not done something like that before in a race where you start in a different area than is actually on the track kind of thing. Or I guess like a quarter mile before the lap starts.
Familiar. I didn't get a lap or anything.
Yeah, it was so weird to me to be riding on track for the second time, but not have yet completed a lap. So this guy here, I think he's officially become my nemesis, so to speak. He parked next to me over at the last race. He's a super cool dude. But in this race, we were running neck and neck right here. This was a pretty good little battle. I didn't recognize him at the time as the guy who parked next to me at the sand race. But I just knew I wanted to pass this guy, so I was really fighting hard to get past him. I ended up finishing the race slightly in front of him, but not by too much. It was just a lot of fun between here and the end of the lap, which is just ahead. You can see I'm trying to get by him, but then he takes off down the hill and gets a little bit of a gap. I try to pass him on the inside. I do the inside corner and then track out thing. I was trying everything I could to get by him. In the end, I ended up letting him go in before me because I didn't want to try to squeeze two bikes through the finish line. But man, this is a great time. It's a lot of fun to race against someone like this, wheel to wheel. He knew I was there too because he said something to me, but I didn't hear what he said. Overall on the day though, I finished 11th out of 11th. I mean, someone's got to be last. That was me. I just didn't come prepared for this race, and it wasn't a very good showing. But hopefully in 2 weeks at Odessa, I'll do better. Thanks for watching.